Hey everyone, it's Leandra at New Vocations Racehorse Adoption Program's Kentucky facility, and here with me today we have Julie riding Wayfarer. If you haven't already seen his profile up on our website, which is newvocations.org, if you go to the horses tab, you'll see Wayfarer's profile there. He is available for adoption at this time, so you can check out his profile there. And what we're going to talk about today is teaching a horse to jump. We get a lot of questions about this. There's no real magic to it, but we're going to show you some of the routine of how we might get them ready for it. But in summary, I'll give you all a sneak peek. You're going to get to a point where you cannot lift your horse's legs up for them. So there's a little bit of trial and error. That's a big part of what we do here, is just having the confidence and the ability to guide your baby green horse through obstacles that will be new to them and be able to adjust as we go. So Julie was just saying Wayfarer hasn't been through these ground poles that are set up behind Erica, who's filming. So we're going to show you one of the first steps that we do to get a horse ready to jump. And that is to introduce them to ground poles, because for a lot of them, they're not having to go over poles. And maybe that's, even when they come here, they're getting used to things like turnout. So they might just know these posts to be turnout posts, if anything. So going over them is not always a natural instinct. We're going to ease them into it by introducing them to a ground pole. And I've got a set of 4 set up behind Erica here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pull one of them out, so it's just one single pole. And Erica, if you walk with me, since we're wired in here with the microphone, let's use the white pole. Sometimes the brighter colored poles or the striped poles can be a little scarier. So Julie, I'll just have you come in between that blue and white striped pole and that white one that we just pushed out, so that there's a little bit of a framework around. There's kind of a back to encourage him to go forward over that. Yeah, just walk, circle around, and then walk towards the gate. And for anyone just tuning in, this is Wayfarer, the horse Julie's riding. There you have it. Not super exciting as far as reaction goes. I think we are all good with scooting that back in. And for anyone who's interested in measurements, I'm just going to put them 6 feet apart, which is 2 3-foot steps. So right back around here. This should be fairly easy. And that's pretty adjustable. Let's move this. For a walk and an easy trot, that should be a simple exercise for him. All right, let's see what Wayfarer, who we call Ray, thinks about these ground poles here. Easy. And you can see even that he's pretty careful. He touched the last pole, didn't really get upset about it, but he took it all pretty well in stride. And so let's go back here. And we're going to create, if you have blocks, you can use those. But if you don't have blocks, you don't need them. We're just going to raise, here we go, one side of the post. And we're going to have, you can do this as a standalone, but in this case, since Ray doesn't seem to really mind, let's just introduce this, just raising one side on the lowest peg of these jump standards, just see what he thinks. There you go. That's perfect, because he paid attention. He made an effort, even more of an effort than he needed to avoid stepping on that. Let's have you turn around and just do the same thing one more time, going the other way. We're not looking for perfection here. That's always the name of the game with green horses. You're just looking for the building blocks to get you towards your end result. And that's even the smallest little thing. So form, composure, muscling, those are all things that take time. If you get it right on the first time, it's probably more luck or just good disposition than actual training, obviously. And it's something that can be reinforced with positive reinforcement and good training. But just keep in mind that, at least as far as these guys are concerned, they're all really green to this. So great if you have a great first reaction. You can reinforce that and create that positive behavior pattern or reaction to different stimulus like the raised post. But if you don't get it right the first time, we are not looking for perfection. That doesn't mean that they are less talented. It just means you have more to work on, and you're going to look for the little baby steps to help you. There you go. See, not perfect, really good effort. You could see he has the right mindset. He stayed really calm. He had a good attitude about it. He was really trying. This is all just going to take time. So you're just going to look for those little tiny indicators. You're going to give them a lot of slack. Mostly your job as a rider in this situation is to keep them between your hands and your legs. Keep them going forward and confident. You want to build their confidence. You have to be confident, keeping your eye up and just creating that energy that's going straight forward, framing them up, not in the way of collection, but literally keeping sort of a framework between your legs and between your hands to guide them through. You have to be the leader in this situation. It's a new setup for them. And you can adjust as you go. If you have a horse who needs a little more time to check things out, that's fine. Maybe they're thinking about it a little bit more. Some of the smartest horses need a little bit of time. Some horses who are just kind of dopey and agreeable, they get things really quickly, but then they might not be careful. So there are a lot of different things going on here, so just take it easy on them and give them a lot of slack. You're just looking for progress. All right, Julie, let's just go for the cross rail. This is what we're gonna do. So he's confident and he's doing really well in this. He's doing really well. So just keep him in between your hands and your legs, keep your eye up, and we'll see what he does. There you go. Super easy like that. So in this case, because we know Wayfarer pretty well and because he went so confidently through the other exercises, you want to just stay on the same page with them. And in this case, that means that he's ready to tackle new things. He's really relaxed. If he weren't relaxed, if he weren't confident, we wouldn't throw it at him like that. We would want to work on other things until he felt better about it. The worst thing that you can do is get a horse in a scenario where then you're asking them by forceful measures to push them over something that they really don't want to do. You're only going to create negative memories around those movements, around those asks. But in this case, Ray is being delightful through every way that we are asking him to try new things. He's really tackling it. And some people will ask us about what they're doing with their mouths when you see them kind of mouthing the bit. That doesn't mean that they hate the bit. It doesn't mean that she's yanking on his mouth. It just means we have a totally different style of riding than the way that they're used to when they start on the track, where the reins are bridged and kept right in their neck. So the horses are used to being able to lean on something. So in this case, I've ridden Ray, so I can speak to this firsthand. He's learning how to develop proper contact where you have a take and give. And so there are moments where he can be a little behind the bit. There are moments where he feels like he's right on it. There are moments when he's ahead of it. And he's kind of figuring that out and developing muscle. So it's a work in progress for him. And that's what he's trying to figure out. So it's easy when you're riding to feel whether he's yanking or whether he's getting a little behind the bit. He's kind of playing with it, and that's a sweet iron. So we want him to play with it a little bit. It encourages a soft mouth. But I just would caution people to snap to any sort of conclusions when you're not the one riding. It's difficult sometimes, especially with these green ones, to try to make those calls without really understanding what's going on. But in that case, Ray was perfectly relaxed. You can see him now even. Julie's got a loose rein and looks like a pretty happy camper overall. He's kind of noshing on that sweet iron, but he's really relaxed in his disposition, his eye, his demeanor. He's happy to stand, so he's doing really well. So this is a horse who tackled this challenge in a great way. This doesn't mean that we would then put up the jump to 3-foot oxers. This is a horse who still needs a lot of conditioning, getting used to maybe a second cross rail somewhere else down the line, but it's important to take it slow with them to make sure that they have that confidence going into it so that you can build on that with a really solid foundation. But like I said at the very beginning, to bring it all full circle, you can prepare them as best you can with really simple exercises like ground poles, raised poles, maybe even smaller cross rail than this if you want to really slowly introduce them. In this case, we know Wayfarer pretty well. He has gone over a cross rail before, so this is a different exercise, and still relatively new to him, but in this case we can kind of show you what a very ideal situation looks like. And he was a champion the first time that we jumped him as well, so it's pretty similar. But you can set them up as best you can, but at some point you're going to have to just point them at a jump and help them get over it. You got to be their leader in this case, be the role of leader, and just see what they do. Don't critique them too much based off the first jumps. It just takes time for them to get formed, to mature physically and mentally, to be able to do tasks like that. So take it slow. See all the good in the little baby steps all along the way, and I hope you the best of luck. Please join us again for future videos.